Last year was a bit of an extraordinary year, an unexpected but very joyful resurgence of Murder on the Dance Floor.
Gonna burn this goddamn house right down.
That was obviously off the back of
Saltburn. It felt glorious, actually, and I'm really good friends with Murder. I just loved the fact that I'd actually had my first record deal when I was 18. I'd signed to Mercury with a band I was in called The Audience. But by the time I was 20, we'd been dropped, everything was looking very bleak. And then I was asked if I was up for doing the vocals for GrooveJet. So for me, it was like, out of everything I've done, that is the one that did change everything, actually, because when I was doing Strictly, I was going to Blackpool, and Richard got a loan of this plane that meant that we could fly to Blackpool and back, and we took Peter Crouch and Abby Clancy with us as well.
You have been on the road as a musician. There must be some wild travel story that you can share with us.
Oh, yeah, which direction of wild do I take it? I'm obsessed with doing laundry when I travel with the kids.
What?
I like to come home with all clean.
So do I.
Yeah, but it's
Well, when you've got
I take it too
7
far.
of you.
I get obsessed. That's a bit dirty. Take it off. I'm going to wash it and dry it. We've got 2 hours before we leave for the airport. I think I can do it. Why do I care?
Welcome to the Mile Fly Club, your VIP lane to first-class travel tips, tell-all talk and turbulent life tales. Think the Mile High Club, only with more clothes, but no less outrageous. Each week, I'll be inviting high-flying, globe-trotting guests to bear all in my club. So if you're searching for some tantalising travel tidbits and a good old gossip, you've arrived at the right destination. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to take off with the Mile Fly Club.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've now reached our cruising altitude. I'll go ahead and turn off the seatbelt sign, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
This episode of the Mile Fly Club is brought to you by our good friends at Florette Salad. Are you looking for the holiday of a lifetime? We've got 5 great destinations to choose from. Imagine jetting off to Koh Samui or Cancun, relaxing in Dubrovnik, exploring New York or Seville. There are 3 tasty escape holidays to be won, and if that wasn't enough, £100 could be instantly won every single day. All you have to do is swing by your local supermarket and grab a promotion pack of Florette Salad. For more information, as well as free recipes, bonus prizes and more, visit florettesalad.co.uk. And be sure to check out @Florette Salad on Instagram and Facebook. Make your summer unflorettable with Florette's Tasty Escapes. Competition closes midnight, August 16th, 2025. Please don't enter after this date. Today, we're taking off to the disco, a kitchen disco where it might just be murder on the dance floor. This week's guest is a pop superstar who's been dropping bangers for over a quarter of a century. She's a singer, songwriter, mother, podcaster, ambassador, and the undisputed queen of the kitchen disco. But you won't find her crying at the discotheque, as today she's boarding her very own GrooveJet and joining my club. Welcome to the Mile Fly Club, Sophie Ellis-Bextor. Sophie, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful home.
Thank you. You made it look... I like this pink light. I might keep that.
It's incredible.
It's made it look a lot more zhuzhy.
I want to ask you so much about your house, but obviously this isn't a property podcast.
No.
This is a travel podcast, travel through life as well.
Yeah.
And it's quite apt because your first hit was actually GrooveJet.
Yes, I started with a plane.
Back in 2000. So how did that song change your life?
Actually, yeah, I would say that is the song that, of everything I've done, that is the one that did change everything, actually, because for more reasons than you might think, not just because it gave me what turned out to be the sort of way to get into having a solo career, but also it changed the genre of music I was making as well, because I'd actually had my first record deal before that. When I was 18, I'd signed to Mercury with a band I was in called The Audience, which indie sort of guitar pop band, which I loved being part of. We'd started when I was 16, but by the time I was 20, we'd been dropped. Everything was looking very bleak. And then I was asked to do if I was up for doing the vocals for GrooveJet, which at the time had already been in the clubs as an instrumental. It's like a dance, house, sort of commercial crossover song. Been doing really well in the clubs. They were looking to put a top line on it and release it properly in the charts. And so for me, it was like, actually, I know I'm an indie kid at heart, but maybe I can do a dance record and it'll give me something that's like a breath of fresh air after being a little bit bruised after losing my deal and not being able to sing at that time. So it gave me back my day job. And then from that, I got a solo deal. So GrooveJet kind of changed everything for me. Yeah.
And you actually shot the video in Thailand?
Yes, in Bangkok, yeah.
And had you ever been there before?
No, it was a massive culture shock. And actually, I was thinking when you said, oh, you know, the interiors, actually, there's probably so many things that I've picked up from my travels.
Oh, I want to hear all about that.
Yeah, because I'm a proper, like, I like bringing back little souvenirs and having stories attached to things. And I was thinking about that trip to Bangkok only the other day, actually, because I travelled quite a lot as a kid. My parents always used to take me. I was lucky. We used to go abroad for a lot of our holidays, and I was always encouraged, you know, to be, you know, curious about the world. But I just had never been anywhere on my own like that. And Thailand, I found Bangkok just a real. It was kind of a cacophony of everything. You know, it's such a different pace of life. It was loud and busy and intoxicating, and I found it quite heady. But I also remember feeling very much on my own there. And I also travelled without anyone I knew. So the whole crew that were filming the video, I didn't know anybody.
And
so
how long were you there for?
We were there for, I think it was 10 days. So quite a long time, really, for someone who hadn't travelled like that on my own before. And I think, yeah, it was probably the most significant thing was I didn't have anyone that I really knew with me. It was the first time I'd done a trip without having, you know, family or, you know, a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something with me.
And you've just got back from Singapore. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
you are here, there and everywhere. So I'm so grateful, actually, that you found the time to squeeze us into your busy schedule.
Oh,
just
not at all.
Literally just landed from Singapore. So what are you up to there?
Yes, I got back yesterday, and as for squeezing, I'm really happy to speak to you. This kind of thing I love. And I also love talking about travel, actually. It's like it's such a big passion of mine. And I feel like one of the biggest things I get from what I do is the fact that it takes me everywhere. And I feel like it's just such a privilege. So in Singapore, I was singing for Cartier, actually. So it was, yeah, I know. I'm very lucky,
Nice.
but I have such a broad spectrum of places that music will take me. So this was a really, yeah, probably slightly more zhuzhy trip than some of them. So I was flown over, flew on Wednesday last week, landed on Thursday morning, and I sang on Thursday and on Saturday night as well, the same gig for different audiences, and then got the first flight back on the Sunday morning. So came off stage at 11:15 or something, and I was on the plane by 1 a.m.
And so did you actually get to see any of the country tour while you were there? You did?
Yeah, and I've been to Singapore before, but also I'm the sort of person that if I've got an afternoon or a couple of hours, I will head out of the hotel, have a wander. I love soaking in. I don't like it when I go somewhere and I don't get to see very much. And so, you know, you can actually surprise yourself by how much you can do with just a few spare hours.
Absolutely. I'm all for you just cram in
Yeah.
as much as you can. It's incredible how much you can get to see in such a
Yeah,
short
yeah,
space
yeah.
of time. You obviously weren't there on your own. You had members of your band with you?
Well, actually, I was singing on my own. I was
Right.
solo singing. So I took with me Kat, who's a member of my management team, and Reese, who was doing sound with me. So it's kind of still quite a small group of us, and the three of us are quite similarly minded. So when we had a day off in the middle, we just got up early again, even though we were all a bit wonky with the jet lag, and headed out and just, I think we did like, I don't know, between 15 and 20,000 steps, just wandering all over. And there's quite a lot to see in Singapore.
I've never been to Singapore, so it is definitely a destination that I want to head to.
It's fun.
You're about to go on tour in like 3 weeks' time.
Yes.
But you were also touring last year, right? Am I right in saying it was 110 shows last year across the
At
US,
least.
across the US?
Well, no, everywhere. So last year was a bit of an extraordinary year. I mean, I always work, you know, quite a lot, luckily. I'm very, very lucky with that. But last year was like, I had a plan of the year, and then, so I had a few tours already in the diary, and then the year started with an unexpected but very joyful resurgence of Murder on the Dance Floor. So one of my first ever solo songs having this big hit again, which was just bonkers.
How did that feel? Because that was obviously off the back of
Saltburn.
Yeah.
It felt glorious, actually. And the wonderful thing is, I'm really good friends with Murder. We've had a very long, very happy relationship together. You know, ever since the song was written, I have sung it. So I've been, you know, singing it very happily for over 20 years anyway. But I just loved the fact that, you know, I can still be surprised by what I do in a really good way. And that's actually one of the things I've always loved about what I do, is its ability to surprised me. It's like a long-term romance, you know?
That is amazing, because that was something that I did want to ask you, because like having to sing the same song like over and over, you never get bored. What is it about the song that means you are still in love with it?
I've had a really good relationship with Murder since I first recorded it, and I think as well with music, particularly music like Murder on the Dance Floor, that is a song that's, the whole aim of a song like that is to start a dialogue with the other person. So it's about dancing, it's about being together, it's about being quite hedonistic. It's a bit of a heady moment, Murder. So for me, the beauty of having a resurgence is that the dialogue continues, and songs, I don't think music stays in one place. It has life as long as people put life into it. So what's happened with Murder in the last 18 months is now part of its story, and music kind of evolves and builds all these layers into it. And so when Murder had a resurgence, I felt a little bit like a proud parent in a way, because it wasn't really about just me. It was like, I felt proud of the song, like, oh, how nice for you that you've got this new layers in your story as well. So we just shared it together. And also there was no expectation. Like when it first came out, it was like, if this does well, my album might do well. And if my album does well, I might get to make another album. And if that does well, I might get to tour again, all those things.
Yeah.
With having an old friend come around again, you're just thinking, let's just celebrate. And so many people that I work with still, I met when that song came out as well. So it had lots of proud uncles and aunties looking on as well.
How is it that you remain to stay in love with the songs that you do that are great, by the way?
Oh, well, firstly, thank you. And I don't know, I suppose I think when you do live music, it's such an in the moment thing. It's like, yeah, I've sung the songs before, but firstly, I do get a lot of pleasure just from singing, like I'm quite a simple soul. I've loved singing along to stuff since I can remember. So just being able to just lose yourself a little bit and singing always feels fun. But also I do feed a lot off from the energy of who I'm singing in front of. And I actually quite like a bit of a challenge. So I like the fact that sometimes I'll be in front of a festival crowd, sometimes it'll be my own gig, sometimes it'll be something, that's more of a corporate. Everything I do, I've got like the opportunity to kind of learn a little bit and try and get the end result of like loosening up the atmosphere, bringing a little bit of fun, getting people dancing with me. So I think when I'm up there, I just find myself in the same place again. I think I'm just quite simply wired, actually. Because for me, it's just like,
I would say you are simply wired. I think you are incredible. I mean, you have 5 children.
Yes.
An incredible career. I mean, you are obviously a very musical. Well, obviously, Richard, your husband,
yeah.
he's in the feeling, isn't he?
Yes, he's a bass player.
So, like, are your kids musical as well?
I think I was going to say they all appreciate music. You know what, when I first had kids, I used to say, people would ask me, oh, do you want them to be musical? I'd say, I just hope that they are a fan of music because music's given me so much. But then one of my kids is actually not that bothered about music, really. He doesn't play music. I don't think he's got a favourite song. He doesn't want to go to gigs. And I actually find that really exciting as well, because I think you have this idea of who you expect your children will be. And naturally, your first instinct is to sort of think of a slight version of yourself. But actually, the real wonder is when they are not like you. And that little departure, that they're their own person, is more pleasing than I would expect it, because you think it's all about recognition, but actually it's about, I don't know, where you connect, but also where they just are themselves. And you're so happy that they've found who they are. Yeah, so it's lovely that most of them do get really excited about music. And I love the fact that I can have a disco dance, especially with my little two, because they're still, they've got no inhibitions. So
we all know about the kitchen disco, which became obviously...
I think for my youngest two especially, it's like literally part of their DNA, that feeling.
Yeah.
So they'll know where the disco lights are, the smoke machine, get the music on, get it quite heavy stuff, actually, my little one especially. He's like, I want cool music, and I'll put on my things. This isn't cool, I want cool music. Like, all right.
I love it. I want to grow up in this house. So
Yeah,
look, it sounds like obviously they are with your vibe of music. What about travel? Do they love travel as much as you do?
They do, actually. That is something that we all really enjoy, and I love travelling with them. And Richard's very good at this, actually, especially like last year's a great example, because once the diary went absolutely crazy last year, my feet didn't really touch the ground very much, and it was very much putting a bag down, right, I've done that job, what's on the next? And there was always seemed to be something on the horizon that was really significant, and I needed to, be on game and something exciting. But a lot of it was abroad. So I was traveling here, there and everywhere. And one of the new things that happened was America. I'd never so much as done a radio interview in America before last year.
Wow.
And yeah, it was literally, it was such a brilliant to have such an easy example of how Saltburn, how murder had changed things, because it all kicked off virally at the beginning in January, and then by the end of January I was doing my first radio interviews in America, and then by February I was singing on Jimmy Fallon, and it's like, whoa, I literally never thought I'd have the chance to do that. Then I ended up doing 2 tours of America as well. So all these places I've never been. I'd never been to San Francisco or Seattle or San Diego, Portland. It was brilliant. I was like, great, I'm getting to see all these places. But then I started to think, I'm away a lot, and explaining to the kids why I was away a lot. So Richard said, we should involve them. Let's start involving a holiday or a trip with the kids. So that's what we did. I mean, I've always done it a little bit, but last year, one of them, poor kid, actually said to me, can we stop going on holiday now? Because I realised within the space of a year, we'd taken them on 6 trips. So this is like the Netherlands, he went to Norway, he went to Denmark, he went to Sweden, he went to Marrakesh, he went to Miami, he went to New York, loads of places he'd never been to before. And I was just like, we're going again. And
he just wanted to be home.
For some of them, I wanted to be home.
But what an experience.
No, but then they did know, he did enjoy it when we were there. And I think, when I always get a bit of tension just before we do a family trip of like, what if it's not like I hope it's going to be? What if I can't provide them, the family, with what they need to function? What if it's, anything? I just get like a bit worried.
So do you have any travel tips for someone that is travelling with, a larger family, perhaps more than just, two children?
Yeah, so we're frequently travelling and a couple of those trips were all 7 of us, top down to bottom, whole family, let's go. And
they range obviously from 21 down to 6.
Yes.
So it's like keeping them all happy.
That's not going to happen. But majority rules with a big family, I'd say. But also tips for big family trips. I would say you don't need all the things you think you need. You can always get stuff when you're there. Most places you go will have seconds. So I've actually done a week or a little bit longer, all of us hand luggage only.
I'm always hand luggage.
Me too. I'm obsessed with, I regard it as a challenge.
Yeah.
I can do it. I think my longest was probably, I've done a month with hand luggage. Yeah. I don't like checking things in.
Nope. Or hanging around in the baggage belt. I'm going to get to the airport, I'm through, and then I'm out the other side.
Do you do the roll?
Yeah.
Do you buy stuff when you're away?
No, because then you've got to pack it and then bring it back. But I always do my do you?
Yes.
I do my washing, obviously, find little places to do my washing.
This is the thing I need to stop. I'm obsessed with doing laundry when I travel with the kids. I like to come home with all clean.
So do I.
Yeah, but it's odd.
Well, when you've got
I take it too
7
far.
of you.
I get obsessed. That's a bit dirty. Take it off. I'm going to wash it and dry it. We've got 2 hours before we leave for the airport. I think I can do it. Why do I care? When I went on holiday, I had a job a couple of weeks back. I was singing abroad, so we took the kids. We went to Portugal, and I discovered in the room, there's a washing machine. Hooray! So the kids, went to the local supermarket, and they're buying like funky sweets and cereals, and I'm like, laundry pads. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
But I think it's all part of the juggle though, because actually you've got a busy life and you're coming back, and so be able to unpack your luggage and put it all away clean and not have to worry.
We now interrupt your flight for a word from our advertisers.
This episode of the Mile Fly Club is brought to you by our good friends at Florette Salad. Florette is a farmer-owned cooperative, and they're pretty amazing. Farming sustainably and caring for nature and the environment is a passion and priority for them. No wonder they're the UK's leading salad brand. Whether you want to boost your meals with some extra nutrition or shake up your usual dinner go-tos, Florette's got your back. They'll help you to reimagine salads one plate at a time, making them unflorettable. For more information, free recipes and more, visit florettesalad.co.uk. And be sure to check out @Florette Salad on Instagram and Facebook. Make your year unflorettable with Florette Salad. What about food when you're traveling? Do you eat everything? Like when you're in a sunny country, you're like, right, we'll have a salad, or when you're in Singapore or Thailand, you have street food?
Definitely. Oh God, yeah, amazing. And also now, you know, we all have access to everything on our phones for getting you can whittle it down. Someone's done all the hard work for you. Good coffee near me, great food near me. You can just scope it all so easily. And I use that as an excuse for finding my way through a city as well. So I'll put in a destination of somewhere that's, you know, good, decent little walk away, and then that's where we'll head. So you see bits of the city as you walk, and then when you get there, you're like, this is amazing. And yeah, I think that's wonderful. I mean, in American tours, it got a bit silly because we would literally eat whatever was the thing wherever we were. So
when you were in America, I mean, obviously you're saying you travelled all over. Did you have a favourite part of the US?
Well, yeah, I loved a lot of it actually, because I've been lucky enough to have been to a few places before, but this time was really like I got to go to extra places. So one of them, I went to where they filmed the pilot for Twin Peaks, and I can't remember the blooming name of the little town now, because it wasn't actually where we were travelling to. We just did a diversion to get there, and it has the original, the R&R cafe. If you're not a Twin Peaksy, this, don't worry, I won't dwell on this. But it was between, let me get this right, so it was West Coast, travelling up just before you get to the Canadian border, because we were on our way to, I'm trying to think, it was the first or second trip. I think it was the second one, so we would have been on our way to Vancouver.
Right.
So we went there. That was really fun. I think it was between Seattle and Vancouver.
I feel back, you're mentioning so many places that I haven't even travelled to, which is crazy.
So many places.
I know, but, you know, I've not been to Canada.
Canada's lovely. I really like that. Also, Toronto, amazing vintage, because I love collecting vintage clothes. This is my weak spot when I travel. So wherever I go, I'll be like, vintage near me. I even managed to find vintage in Singapore.
But it's got fit in your hand luggage.
Yeah, but then that's the challenge. I leave with the extension pack small, and then that little bit, and then roly. It's bad though, Laura. I come back with stuff I don't need, but it's memories.
Well, you were saying you pick stuff up on your travels. So have you picked anything up in here from your US tours?
Oh, undoubtedly. But would you be able to spot something in this?
Is your dress from your US tour?
No, this might be an eBay one, but you're right that it's secondhand. But I just get obsessed with knickknacks and stuff and memories, and I just love the stories behind things.
I was going to say,
that's what it is.
The story behind the items. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
So when I did the jump, I got a curling rock from Austria, which doubles up as a doorstop.
Amazing.
I've got a cowbell from India, and I love it for the story of like where's that been in the past and on its little travels. And
it's great, isn't it? Also, I feel like sometimes I'm only like holding on to these things for now. And that's what I like about things that have, you know, buying things secondhand, is that they've come from somewhere else. I'll have them for a while and then send them back on to their next chapter afterwards. So that's okay with me.
Just very quickly before we move on from America, obviously America's gone through some big changes with Trump. When you were there, any stories to tell? Anything you sort of saw, or anything that, you know, was a bit unusual?
Well, I guess I was taking in it all, like really soaking it in. And, you know, there are places that I'd had an idea of what they'd be like San Francisco, for example. But I guess the thing about being a musician traveling is that you're often going to places that have got, in order for them to be destinations that have got, you know, really cool music venues, you're generally seeing this sort of creative side of a city when you go to those places. So, for example, in San Francisco, we played a place called the Fillmore. It's a place that was, you know, huge when it was sort of the 70s. Everybody's played there. You know, you've got these places where the walls tell stories. So you're kind of looking, you're sort of skimming the top of the current political climates and thinking, for me anyway, more about like the cultural side of what's going on there and what stories that side of the city tells.
Right.
Because it's very unusual to play a venue that's brand spanking new. Most of these places, it's like, oh, what's happened here? How long's this place been here? So, yes, you know, we did get involved with some conversations. You know, I love talking, like, taxi drivers are often a great source of, like, hearing what's going on here, you know, in political views. And I did find myself speaking to, you know, someone who was very pro-Trump. But I feel like...
When you're in taxis now in the US, they know who you are.
Nah. No, I mean, I've had one song that they might know, and I'm not chancing my luck on saying, do you know that song? Do you know me? But I feel like more my music has allowed me to travel. I don't I'm not looking for like my next trip to America. I'm not greedy. I never thought I'd even have one US tour, let alone a couple. And the political thing's interesting, but I feel I'm trying to be mindful really of thinking more about what people's lives must be like to live a life where you feel that that's the option that makes sense to you. Because I'm coming at things from my I live in a very, I'm a Londoner. It's a city that evolves, it looks to the future, it embraces multiculturalism. I don't know what it's like to be living that other life. So I kind of want to try and understand how things happen and bridge gaps to try and get that empathy rather than be kind of guard up, really. And then you can at least see politics as people, because I feel like that's an interesting way to break it down. But yeah, America is a strange place at the moment because for a long time it was the place that me and all my peers wished we'd been born. And now I don't feel like people are quite so excited about it in that way. But there's still a lot about it that, you'll walk down a street and you'll be like when I took the kids to New York, they'd never been there before, but they felt like they knew it because they'd seen it in so many movies and TV shows. And I just find that really fascinating when a place is familiar, even though you've never walked those streets.
There. Obviously, you've travelled tons. You've travelled with your children when they were younger and as they've got older. Do you think your travels have inspired them to kind of want to go off on their own?
You know what, I think so. And that's actually it's funny, isn't it? Because we put so much emphasis on parenthood of, when they're small. But obviously, it's actually something that continues throughout their whole life. And so all the times when I used to go away, and and even now if I leave, sometimes I can feel incredibly guilty about being away from my children. And I love the anchor of home. And even though I've, been in rapture about travel, I love being at home best of all. I'm a real homebody too. But when I've gone away sometimes and have been racked with that feeling and come back and told them about it or taken them with me, I feel like it has given them layers. And so my eldest boy last year went away on his own to Japan. And then while he was there, he actually extended the trip. And he did, he didn't go with a friend, just literally on his own for a month, traveling all around different hostels, train journeys, different cities. And I was like, maybe all those times when I felt guilty, I should have actually realised what was really happening here, as I was maybe giving him a little bit of confidence about it too.
And have you been to Japan?
We went to Japan for the first time together. So in 2020 in February, which is quite wild, it was literally just before the UK went into lockdown. We'd planned a trip. So it was my mum, Sunny and I. So 3 generations. And we went over to Tokyo and we were there for a week. And it was a very poignant, significant trip. Firstly, I'd been desperate to go, so had Sunny. But also my mum was supposed to be going with my stepdad. And then at the time he was too ill to travel. And he was very unwell with lung cancer. So we knew the significance of that was that there wasn't going to be another time. So I stepped in instead of him, but he'd written the itinerary of all these ideas where we could go. So we sort of followed his plan. And yeah, it was actually magical, but also had sort of sadness around the edges, but also a really significant, lovely way to be together. And when we came home, it became immediately nostalgic because suddenly there was no travel anywhere.
Yeah.
And then John sadly died in July. And then I wrote an album called Hannah, which was inspired by Japan and some of the aesthetics and the sort of slightly more dreamlike quality of it, but also about grief, but also about positivity.
Yeah.
So yeah, it inspired a lot.
What you're saying is travel's massively inspired your music then.
Yeah, I did an album called Wanderlust, which was the first album I did that was no dance, no disco. It was my 5th record, and that was all inspired by Eastern Europe. So it had a Bulgarian choir, Ukrainian strings. It was inspired by lots of Russian, Ukrainian, Polish fairy tales and some of the travels I'd done there. And then I did one called Familia, which was all inspired by Latin America. And then Hannah, which was Japan.
Most people come to me for travel advice, Sophie. I think I'll be calling you when I want to book my next
I still need
holiday.
advice. I think you've got to stay curious. I'll never crack it. And no matter how much time you spend somewhere, you never know what it really feels like to live there, do you?
So as a family of 7, where is your favourite destination to travel to?
I mean, we go to lots of places. I think the place we've been the most often as a family is Italy.
Okay.
Yes, we love it. And actually, well, firstly, we've recorded some of the album there. Richard and my brother went there because there's a studio not far away. And also The Feeling recorded an album at the studio as well. And then we'll have our family holiday there. And then my mum and my brother and my sister will come and we'll make do with putting, mattresses everywhere and just cram everybody in. Yeah.
And talking about your mum, you're obviously very close to her. So does she join you on other travels, just the two of you, like mother and daughter trips?
Yeah, we've done that quite a lot over the years, and sometimes more of us. I mean, at the beginning of last year, my brother and sister and my mum and I all went to Paris for a long weekend, and we've always done that, actually. So yeah, we've done bits of travel all over the shop, but I think one of the most significant was actually New York again. She'd never been to America, and I think I must have been like 19 or 20, and for her birthday, we went together and I took her for another long weekend.
Something else that I have just found out about you is the fact that your husband is a pilot.
Yes.
Now, I mean, as someone that's been learning to fly as well, so as a family, do you get in the plane with him flying?
So he has, the plane that he has, co-owns with two other people is a very small plane. It's a 4-seater, so we can do a couple of the kids in that. But, so we've never travelled like all of us together, but we've all done it individually. And yeah, I mean, I love it because, actually, I think my first love of it is actually how much he loves it. I think I really like seeing what it gives him. And it's also, I feel a little bit smug because I felt like I was quite an integral person when it came to getting him into the pilot thing, because when he was a little boy, he wanted to fly planes. That's what he thought he'd do. And then music took over, and that's definitely his first love. But he got dangerously into golf in our 20s, and I just thought it was really uncool and not very sexy. So for his 30th birthday, I got him flying lessons, and it just really worked. And
amazing.
So, yeah, golf is no longer part of the picture.
What do your kids think about their dad being a pilot?
At the moment, they don't really think about it too. I mean, my eldest guys are just not that into it.
Do they not? Because my dad flies as well, and that was why I was like, damn, that's cool.
I don't know if they do. I don't think they think about it that much. I think Richard would love it if one of them, or maybe two, was like, I want to learn to fly, Daddy.
Yeah.
Maybe the little ones.
Any cool travel stories with him flying that you can share?
Well, I mean, some of it's just been like the two of us, and I think just having that, I mean, it feels like a really indulgent, lovely way to spend a day. And I love the flip on perspective, getting up in the air, and I'm sure you love this too, when it just goes all silent and you just see the world in that way.
Yeah.
Well, I say silent, it's quite noisy in a little plane.
Yeah.
But, you're not filling the air with chat and things. But yeah, I think the coolest thing, and the way that, that it was like quite a fun, like unexpected pleasure of the flying, was when I was doing Strictly. So this is quite a while ago now, but I was going to Blackpool, and Richard basically got a loan of this plane that meant that we could fly to Blackpool and back. And we took Peter Crouch and Abby Clancy with us as well, because Abby and I were in the same year at dancing school. And yeah, so that was pretty cool. And it took like half an hour to get to Blackpool, and it felt great.
And, was that like a nice plane? Because it sounds really fancy and flash, doesn't it? Oh, we're getting in this plane, it's a private jet. They're not private jets. They are literally, like, sometimes you look at them and think they look like they're made of cardboard.
Yeah, I mean, you would not mistake the plane that Richard co-owns as a private jet. It's like a little 4-seater, and it's really cute. But yeah, I think first Blackpool, there was someone that because you know what it's like with flying. It's a real little community, and everybody talks, and it's actually a really nice, supportive community. So there was someone else that was, I think his wife was a big Strictly fan, so he had got access to this plane that could hold us all and was really lovely inside, and that was really fun. So I just love what it gives him as well. I think it's really nice to have something that, when you can be impressed with what your other half gets up to. I feel like that when I see him play bass as well, but I just think like, God, that's really cool. Like it's a proper talent.
I think it's also great, and we've touched on this when we've spoken sort of privately, is that actually you can always learn other things later in life.
Definitely.
And that was a really amazing skill that he's learned. And it's almost like second chapter of our lives, which sort of going a little bit off sort of other chat that we've had about travel, but you sort of have transitioned through your life, your career, sort of resurgence of your music again with Murder, getting to a point in your life, sort of perimenopause, menopause. How are you anticipating that chapter?
Well, you're right. I mean, it's like very much the topic, and I saw some of my old school friends the other day, and they were chatting about it because that is exactly. I've just turned 46 a couple of weeks ago.
Happy birthday!
Thank you very much.
Share
Same to you. We're both
birthdays.
April, best month, obviously. And I'm embracing it. I actually really like getting older. I like getting older a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, I've never been frightened of age. I'm not someone that lies about it. And in fact, if anything, I'm probably a little bit keen to share it because I think for me, it's like, I'm sort of quite fascinated by the feeling of like piling up years of experience. I feel like that's very satisfying. And when you've put in all that time with not just work, with all the relationships around you, it's like sort of like sowing the seeds in a garden or something.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you look around and you're like, oh, everything's really grown up, and like all the flowers start coming out. Like, oh, this is good. And I feel like you sort of earn all those roots. So if I'm ever talking to someone and I say something happened 20 years ago and they kind of go, oh, you mean 5 minutes ago? And I'm like, I literally think it's to be celebrated when you've seen that there's been the passing of time. I feel like that's a good thing because that means you've learnt stuff and you've got all that wealth of all those lovely things you can rely on a bit more,
We now interrupt your flight for a word from our advertisers.
Hi, I'm Laura Hamilton. If you've ever dreamt of owning a property abroad, whether it's a holiday home, an investment, a renovation, or even a place to relocate, then my brand new course, My Property Abroad, is for you. Buying property overseas is exciting but also overwhelming, and that's why I've created this course to give you all the tools, tips and confidence you need to make smart decisions when buying abroad. From choosing the right location, understanding local laws, dealing with agents and even making the most of your property as a rental, I've packed everything I've learnt into simple step-by-step lessons. Join the community at mypropertyabroad.com to find out more. Finding a reliable tradesperson shouldn't feel like a full-time job. I've developed over 20 properties and believe me, I've had my fair share of no-shows, missed calls and mystery quotes. That's why I love Worky. It's a brand new app that lets you book trusted tradespeople, electricians, plumbers, decorators, all vetted and reviewed. You can choose when they come, see real-time availability and even filter for preferences like pet-friendly or female-only if that matters to you. Simple, smart, and no more chasing quotes. Download Worky today and book with confidence. There's so many exciting things coming. You're going on tour in 3 weeks' time. So where are you off to?
So this is my biggest ever UK tour, which is amazing. Doing a tour always feels like a treat because I feel like you get to really bed in and it's just a luxury to come out on stage and be with people who've actually chosen to come and spend some time with me. And the more I've done what I do, the more my objective for what I want to achieve in a night has become clear. And I love the fact that when we're doing the show, I want people just to leave the world outside a little bit. And if I can just leave them with a little bit more pep in their step, I'll feel really happy. I just want to bring some fun and it's all about joy, I think, really.
How many shows have you got in your UK tour?
That is a good question, and I don't know the answer. I think it must be 17 or 18, something like that. But there's a few venues I've played a few times before, and they're beautiful. And then I finish off at one of my favourite buildings in London, which is the Royal Albert Hall on the 12th of June.
I have to come and see you for a
please
round.
do. Yeah, it'd be really lovely. It's such a special venue, and the nice thing about playing these beautiful venues, again, going with stories, I guess, is that a lot of the rooms have held such amazing things before, and they're designed in a different way, because I often play in theatres, so the acoustics are really special as well, so you can really play around with that. And I just think it's just a treat. And I go around and I often learn fun facts about where I am, which is probably confusing for the audience, but I try and find something obscure.
Yeah. Honestly, so you are one of the most amazing people. I do not know how you juggle it because I literally see you everywhere. I see you, on the TV with the Dream stuff. Then you were doing some other travel stuff, and I've seen you with Gary Barlow.
Oh yeah, that was when I was supporting Take That in Australia. Yeah, well, so I supported Take That in 2007, and then again last year, which was really cool. And they're very, very lovely people. And yeah, when I was I'm trying to remember where we were now. It must have been Sydney actually. Oh no, it's just outside of Melbourne. That's right. Because we went to a vineyard about an hour away.
Yeah.
And,
how do you do it?
How do you taste drinking wine?
No.
It's absolutely fine, thanks.
How do you juggle? That's what I meant.
Those two answers might be the same thing. I think actually, probably like you, I feel like if you've got passion and you enjoy the things you get up to, then you find the time to do them. And, you know, none of this is happening in a void. I've got really good support. There's lots of people I can lean on, whether it's, you know, the literal. So it comes to like, you know, if I'm like when I was in Singapore, I missed 2 kids' birthdays, which is not easy. It's the first time I've done 2 on a trip. So that's really tough, but I knew that back home they were being really well looked after. Their dad was here, but also, you know, our nanny's amazing. My mum lives down the road. I could see they were having fun. I was FaceTiming them while they were cutting cake and all these things. So that support is invaluable. It allows me the freedom to really do what I do and put my focus there when I'm doing it. But also in the figurative sense, if I'm feeling wobbly, if I'm feeling low, I can talk to Richard or my friends or my mum who I speak to all the time. And I feel like that really helps. And a lot of things I do with people I love. So my band has got my husband on bass and my brother on drums. So we're already sharing it.
Yeah.
I do think sharing stuff is actually a bit of a trick thing, actually. I think the more you can share in it, the more it becomes like the memory of what I do. When I think back to all the tours I did last year, I don't think the gigs are in there, but that's not the first memory. The first memory will probably be like, you know, a great coffee shop or an amazing view or, you know, all the things you do in all the parenthesis of it.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, the punctuation marks are actually where the living happens, I think.
You have been on the road as a musician. There must be some wild travel story that you can share with us.
Oh, yeah, which direction of wild do I take it? I mean, I think for me, actually, the wildest aspect is sometimes what I've crammed in. I mean, I've had it where Richard and I recently went to Bangkok for a night. We were literally only there for 14 hours in total. It's a long way to go for a night.
It's like a 14-hour flight, isn't it?
Yeah,
to Bangkok.
and we didn't get direct flights, so it was 2 flights there, 2 flights home. So when we got there, it was literally like already evening time, get ready, go and sing and DJ, get packed up again, go home back to the airport. And we've done that quite a lot, and sometimes what you can cram in is extraordinary. I also travelled to Australia once. I landed on a Friday, sang in Sydney. Saturday I flew to Melbourne, sang there, and Sunday flew from Melbourne to Sydney, Singapore, Singapore home. I was in Australia for 2 days in 2 different cities, and I had my 16-week-old, as my 4th baby. I took with me for that. But actually the one that popped into my head first was when I did a song with a very big trance DJ called Armin van Buuren, and he plays in these huge, like 25,000 capacity, like hangars. And he'd asked me to sing in Beirut. And for some reason, again, I couldn't stay very long. So I'd flown there, landed in the evening, gone and sung in front of 22,500 people. But we did a version of the song we'd done together where actually, even though the track was longer, my actual singing bit was only 2.5 minutes. So I sort of popped up on a, hydraulic platform, looked at all this crowd of people, sang my bit, went back down again, back to the hotel, packed up my stuff, first flight home. And the next day when I got home, I felt like it was a dream. And the only thing I had was some of those, some of the sweets that you get in the airport. And it was like, that was the only evidence I had that I hadn't just completely made up this trip to Beirut to sing for thousands of people with Armin van Buuren. But yeah, I did do it. I'm pretty sure I did anyway. I've definitely got sweets from the airport.
Oh, wow.
But I'll do it. I used to do a lot of that. I mean, I still do it now sometimes. I say I used to. Bangkok was like a month ago. But I quite like the challenge of it.
Where do you get your energy from? I mean, I'm asking you that and I'm full of energy, but where do you get it from? And who inspires you?
Well, I think I'm naturally quite buoyant, but I think also, I don't know, I suppose I sort of suck it up from what I'm doing. And then sometimes I do think okay, I feel like I'm really on a stretcher at this point. But I mean, I'm sure you can relate, but it's amazing how much you can squeeze in, how far you can go with yourself, right? I think the worst feeling really though is if I'm spread very thin and I feel like I'm not really 100% in anything I'm doing. I'm too busy thinking, have I done enough of that to now go to that bit, to now go to that bit, and I feel like I'm not really very present.
Just nosy question. Where did you go on your honeymoon?
So for our honeymoon, we'd already had she got married in Italy, actually. All roads lead back to Italy because it's so beautiful. And we'd already had Sonny, so I didn't want to be away from him for too long. So we went to Rome for 3 nights, and that was as long as I would allow myself at that time to be away from him. But the fun thing about that is sometimes when we have a little trip together, I'll feel like we're still adding on a few more nights. So in total, we've been to loads of places. Yeah, but even now, the longest I've been away from the kids is 3 weeks is the longest since I've been a mum. I'm no shade on anyone who does longer, but I find that sometimes really, there's a point where you're like, I need to get back now.
Well, I've got 3 quick questions.
Go for it.
Well, quick fire questions. Favourite place you visited and why?
Oh, well, the first place that popped into my head when you said it was Mexico, actually. I really like Mexico. I mean, I love Europe, and I've been to so many places I love, but I thought of Mexico partly because there's like something I picked up in Mexico in my eyeline, one of those little wrestler masks, but also because I think for personal reasons, we had a great family holiday there. So when you said about favourite place you've been, I was thinking, after Italy, I was thinking actually Mexico was brilliant with the kids. But also, it was a very good example of the first time I went there was after my album had come out, my first album. And it was the first time I had a real sense of travelling somewhere I'd never been before. And my music was already there to meet me. And it blew my mind. Like, wow, how can someone who's grown up in Mexico City and, you're there doing their life and I'm doing mine, and then you have this little moment where you cross paths. It was like, that's incredible, So, I played there again last year, and it's just a really, really great country.
Wow, okay.
So it was a very long answer to it. I'm jet lagged.
No.
My brain cells are all like this.
Okay, this is a tough one.
Go for it.
Best person to travel with and why? And it could be friends, family.
No, that's not a tough one. It's definitely Richard.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not tough at all. We're really good at that, and he's very good at finding the fun. So actually, I don't think we've been bored anywhere we've gone. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's very apt then, because the final question is, are you a member of the Mile High Club? Now, with a husband who's a pilot.
Well, as a training pilot yourself, Laura, do you think that's inappropriate?
He's a quick fire answer.
You're trying to get his license taken away from him. And also, I don't know, Mile High, I don't know how high do those things go?
Oh, like 2,000.
Okay. I think with the beauty of what we've discussed, you really don't need to know the answer to that.
Sophie, thank you so much.
Thank you to you too.
So great,
and
so lovely. I'm going to have a little
I'll take you on a tour of where all
100%
this stuff has come from.
Definitely need a tour.
The funny thing is I've just decluttered. You can't bloody tell, can you?
I think it's brilliant, and I love the fact that you're picking up items on your travels, because it's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
Good luck with the tour. I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Thank you very much.
Hey Mile Fly Club, thanks so much for travelling with me on this episode. For more content like this, please click the subscribe button. And for the full podcast interview, check out the Mile Fly Club on all major audio streaming platforms.